Welcome to Venus Transmissions. I'm Sat Avtar. Spiritual narcissist, spiritual narcissism. We're going to talk about that today. How to recognize it, how to maneuver through it, and what is the deep spiritual process of when we get into these situations, and how we can not be turned off to the demographic of spirituality and spiritual practices when we might seem to come across this. And why might we come across it more than other people too as well? Those are valid questions. So venustransmissions.com. I have a 5-day free voice activation course starting to work on, it's important in these relationships and right now to learn how to communicate. And the truth is, a lot of us have been faced with consequences of speaking our truth and communicating. And it's really pushed down our voices. So going to Venus Transmissions, trying out that 5-day course can start to help open up that energy. As well, I do have a series coming up in November. It's Monday nights. There are recordings if you can't join live. It's really affordable. It's called The City Rhythm. And The City Rhythm is about tuning ourselves to the rhythm of victory, from victimhood to victory, and practicing together. Just creating a space of sacredness for ourselves. Okay, so now to the juicy part. Spiritual narcissism. So as you know, I live in Tulum. I'm here most of the year, but I travel around a lot. And I once heard someone say that there's the most ego in the spiritual world. So why is that? And it's definitely true. Sometimes I think maybe it's not that there's more ego in the spiritual world. It's just that we're looking at it. It's coming to the surface. And there is and has been a tendency sometimes to use spirituality to exploit people, because a lot of people that get into spirituality are searching for healing. We're searching for solutions to our pains and our hurts and our problems. And when you come into situations where you're disempowered, you can be easily manipulated. And a lot of times, this concept in spirituality of love, how do we get to a more loving place? Well, free love. No. Love has boundaries, and it's very important to have boundaries. Love is not a free-for-all in any way. And once you have good boundaries, you can really understand that you can actually give more when you have better boundaries. So as far as spiritual narcissism goes, and the characters, shall we say, that come into play. Back to, I live in Tulum, and a lot of my friends, we've all had experiences with people that either consciously or unconsciously use their position of power to exploit. That's just kind of the name of the game right now. We're seeing these structures of exploitation die really slow deaths right now. The thing is, we have to really see them. We have to see how insane they are. We have to see how abnormal they are and how the level of insanity, we've been accustomed to and been living in for a number of years. So spiritual narcissism, what might a spiritual narcissist do? Okay, so a spiritual narcissist is going to use the guise of helping people as a way to make them really vulnerable and they can take advantage. There's so many different ways that looks and that can happen. Now, there are so many amazing healers out there, but one thing I always tell people to look for is the healer you're working with, or the coach you're working with, or the teacher you're working with, are they trying to get you to realize your own power? Or are they accrediting themselves with all the power that heals you? It's a really important distinction. And FYI, some healers can actually claim that you have all the power, but they're still gaslighting you and messing with your mind. But anyway, at the core of it, a healer is creating a space for you to hold yourself in a deep way, to calm your nervous system, and to help you open up places in your consciousness so that you can see your own truth. So, I mean, you can accept your own truth, because a lot of times we can see it, but we really resist it. I have had healers say that, oh my God, I healed this person and it was amazing. And they really take all the credit for healing other people. And that's not really how it works. So that is a sign, one sign of, just watching out for that. And two, how do you feel around certain people? There is a truth to the fact that someone who's challenging our ego does make us uncomfortable. And we have to have a sharp perception to understand the difference between someone that's challenging us out of love and then our body literally just putting us in fight or flight mode to get out of a situation. I firmly believe that all situations, even ones that we get into with these situations, they are huge gifts for our own empowerment, right? So another situation of spiritual narcissist, someone who might take a lot but never give. Take a lot in the sense of, there's a concept of doing selfless service. And I had a friend who did, probably 1,000 hours of service to a particular business. It was a business, really, and the level of what he was giving, warranted some sort of exchange, but he never really got that exchange. Sure, it was a lesson to him on, how much am I giving and what are my boundaries? That was a huge gift. But when he asked for something back that he felt he wanted, and that was a real valid request, he didn't get it. So he moved on to a community where he felt more honored. So the thing is, we can blame others when we give too much of ourselves away, or we can take responsibility and learn how to say no. So a spiritual narcissist is not going to want you to say no. They're really going to want to push you and not allow you the space that you might need for a minute to really, really assess. You have to know yourselves. There's an inherent, it's almost two sides of the same coin, because a lot of times we as healers want to help other people, and it helps us because we feel like we've done something. We feel like we've accomplished something. We feel like we're supporting people. But it's also this kind of the same thing with anyone who's really like a spiritual narcissist healer. They're doing it, but instead of doing it out of an unconditional love, they're doing it to also get something. But it's a very one-pointed, singular, kind of selfish. I want this for me, rather than I want this for you and for me. Because when I see you do well, and I see you happy and you soar, then I can experience that as well. There's still some codependent structures going on. So spiritual narcissists, they won't care really what you think, and they'll gaslight you. And it's definitely in Tulum. And my friends, we've all had experiences lately with a level of unconsciousness. And really what it is, we all have unconscious parts of ourselves. And we're all in these plays with people to act out our patterns, to express the places where we're not feeling the most love for ourselves. And when you get into a spiritual practice, that's a step that you take to say, I'm okay with being vulnerable and I'm going to work on this. And narcissists want to exploit that vulnerability. So if you get into any sort of spiritual place that doesn't respect your boundaries, that is a huge warning sign, red flag, if you will, that it's not the place for you. You know, truth. I heard someone say once, who had been massively gaslighted, there's your truth, my truth, and that person's truth. Which, to a point, you know, I can get on board with, in the respect that we have different experiences. You know, the color purple could look different to somebody else than it does to me. I don't know. You know, we just don't really know. But there's a basic truth as, is this action born of love and care and cooperation and compassion for all? That's a truth, and that's a truth that we can all agree on and get on board with. I mean, at the end of the day, really, we're all dealing with a soup of behaviors that have been largely unconscious for generations, that we're unwinding. We're unwinding this narcissism that we all have within. And in the spiritual realm, when you put yourself in places of vulnerability, just remember that you always have a right to your boundaries. And it's not anyone's duty to fix your emotions, but you should be allowed to express them and say what you need to say. And maybe the other person, you know, the other person can't fix it for you, but they can at least listen and they can at least respect your boundaries. Boundaries are really important. I hope this video has been helpful. And I always encourage you, if you get into spiritual communities where you feel like, you know, you're being gaslit or there's a lot of narcissism, you know, it's learn from those experiences as much as you can. Don't get stuck in a victim mindset. And stay in your power and enjoy, not enjoy, but in joy, in the state of joy, and love and fierceness towards yourself, because all of it is just a passageway for you to deepen your own self-love. But beware of people that, you know, want you to give too much of yourself too quick. And are claiming to be able to, you know, fix all your problems. Ultimately, you know, a healer wants you to be empowered to wake into your own healing power. They don't want you as a client forever. Yeah. VenusTransmissions.com, AquarianYogi.net for my online yoga studio, and you can find information about the City Rhythm on VenusTransmissions.com. There's still early bird pricing for another week and a half, and you can find me on Instagram, message me through my website. It's only $38 for the City Rhythm, and Aquarian Yogi's also yearly membership is on sale.